Welcome to Two Hosts, One Message. I'm Brother Gabriel Veritas. This past Sunday, Pastor J. Anthony Dargan brought a powerful message titled Surrendering for Greatness, based on Matthew chapter 13, verses 44 to 46. In two short parables, The Treasure in the Field and The Pearl of Great Price, Jesus challenges us to see the incomparable value of the kingdom of heaven. The question is simple but searching. Once you recognize the treasure of the kingdom, are you willing to surrender everything to gain it? Stay with us as we explore the message, the meaning, and the call to go all in for Christ. Two Hosts, One Message begins right now.
Welcome to Two Hosts, One Message. The month of March calls us to walk with Jesus, examining his life, teachings, and the cost of discipleship as we move toward the cross.
Which is a season that historically invites a lot of serious reflection. It really forces you to step back and analyze the architecture of your faith.
The architecture, I like that.
Yeah, because the central question becomes, is this just a weekend hobby for you? Is it a cultural routine, or is it an active, ongoing transformation?
Which brings us directly to today's focus. We are looking at a very specific, honestly really challenging message titled Surrendering for Greatness.
Oh, it is a heavy hitter.
Delivered by Pastor J. Anthony Dargan.
On March 8th, 2026.
Yes, exactly. And our mission for this Two Hosts, One Message is to really dig into Pastor J. Anthony's teachings on the 13th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew. We want to explore this idea that true surrender isn't actually about what you lose.
Right, which is how we usually think of surrender.
Totally. But instead, he frames it as this joyful pathway to the greatest life you could ever possibly live.
And right out of the gate, the way Pastor J. Anthony introduces this is quite provocative.
Oh, he goes straight for the jugular.
He really does. He draws this hard line between casual admiration and total life-altering commitment.
Okay, let's unpack this. Pastor J. Anthony starts with this really bold declaration about his own philosophy. He explicitly states his goal has never been to just gather an audience of fans. He doesn't want admirers. He wants to develop true disciples.
And to show where people get derailed, he points out this formula a lot of churches get stuck on.
The 3 Bs.
The 3 Bs. Believing in Christ, belonging to the community, and behaving in ways that honor God.
Now, on the surface, those 3 Bs probably sound like the ultimate goal, right?
That sound great.
I mean, let me play devil's advocate for a second. If you are checking off those 3 boxes...
They're doing pretty well.
Right. You believe the core tenets, you show up so you belong, and you behave like a decent person. Isn't that a successful religious life? Why push back against that?
What's fascinating here is how Pastor J. Anthony pivots away from that assumption. He doesn't dismiss believing, belonging, and behaving.
They matter.
They absolutely matter. They are foundational. But the critique is that they are frequently treated as the final destination.
Like you've arrived.
Exactly. When in reality, they are just the runway. The ultimate desire isn't behavioral modification. It is moving into something much deeper, which is becoming.
Becoming like Christ, as opposed to just acting like him when people are looking.
Precisely. It is the difference between outward conformity and genuine internal transformation. Because behaving is often just image management.
Ooh, image management. That is so true.
It is. It's making sure you say the right thing so the community accepts you. But becoming means your default character, your private habits, your inner life that is actively being rewired by the Spirit.
It's an identity shift.
Not a checklist.
So for you listening right now, it's really worth pausing to ask yourself, are you just behaving? Are you just managing your public image? Or are you actively becoming someone different at your core?
It is a demanding question.
It sets the stage perfectly for the ancient texts he dives into next. Matthew chapter 13, verses 44 through 46.
These are 2 incredibly brief parables told by Jesus, but they are densely packed. They are all about the infinite value of the kingdom of heaven.
But to really get the weight of these stories, we have to establish the historical context. Because if a modern listener hears, a man found a treasure hidden in a field...
Sounds like a fairy tale.
We picture pirates, treasure maps with a big red X.
Right. But Pastor J. Anthony provides this crucial background. In the first century, there were no banks.
No Chase.
No Bank of America.
No Carver Federal Saving.
None of it. You could just walk into a branch. People had to physically protect their valuables, their gold, their jewelry.
Which meant burying it in fields to protect it from thieves.
Exactly. But life was unpredictable. People died, or there were wars, and suddenly you have fortunes buried in fields whose owners are long gone.
Which explains the first parable perfectly. A man, maybe a day laborer, is working in a field, and unexpectedly, his shovel hits something.
He finds the treasure.
He stumbles upon it. Now, simply finding it didn't make it his. Under the law back then, it belonged to whoever held the deed to the field.
So look at his strategy. He covers it back up. He wasn't treasure hunting, but once he sees the staggering value,
He joyfully sells everything he owns to buy that field.
regally acquiring the treasure.
And think about that today. Imagine coming home and telling your family, hey, we're liquidating the retirement account, selling the house, the cars, everything to buy that rocky, vacant lot outside of town.
To his neighbors, he looked completely insane.
Completely unhinged.
But he knew it was buried there. And Pastor J. Anthony contrasts this man with a second character, a merchant.
Right. The first man stumbled onto it. But the merchant is an active seeker. He's an expert. He spent his whole life searching for rare jewels.
And one day, he finally finds it. One pearl of great value.
And his response.
The exact same as the guy in the field. He sells absolutely everything to buy it.
This is Pastor J. Anthony's key observation. Whether you stumble into grace unexpectedly or you search for it your entire life, the response is exactly the same. You liquidate everything joyfully to obtain it.
That word joyfully is so critical. They weren't grumbling. They weren't reluctantly parting with their stuff.
Because they saw the value. Pastor J. Anthony shared this great anecdote to drive that home. He talked about a song he learned years ago with the NYS Sacred Youth Choir. They would sing, "A cappella joy without measure will be my treasure. Heaven holds all to me."
That captures it perfectly. If heaven holds all to you, the temporary stuff naturally loses its grip.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Pastor J. Anthony draws three distinct truths from these parables. Truth number one, the kingdom must be recognized.
Sacrifice only happens when value is recognized. If you don't know what an uncut diamond looks like, you won't trade your life savings for what looks like a dirty rock.
Exactly. Look at the Pharisees.
Right. They saw the miracles. They heard the teachings firsthand. But they didn't recognize the treasure standing right in front of them.
To quote Pastor J. Anthony, when you fail to recognize the value of something, you will never be willing to sacrifice for it.
That is why people treat faith so casually today.
They just don't see the value.
Yeah.
But contrast the Pharisees with the Apostle Paul in Philippians chapter 3.
Paul had everything. The elite education, the status, the political influence.
The ultimate resume.
Giving that up was career suicide. But when he recognized the true value of Christ, he counted all his worldly gains as absolute garbage.
He saw the pearl, which leads to truth number two. The kingdom requires a decision.
You can't just admire the treasure.
You can't just put it on a shelf. The cross, the resurrection, the shedding of blood, it demands a response.
Pastor J. Anthony makes this point so clear. There is no middle ground. You cannot keep one foot in the kingdom and one foot in the world.
You're either all in or all out.
You cannot cling to the lesser and receive the greater.
But man, giving up everything, that sounds like a massive loss. Which brings us to truth number three. The kingdom rewards the surrendered.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the ultimate aha moment. Surrender isn't walking away empty.
Right. Pastor J. Anthony lists these incredible contrasts. You surrender your sin.
You gain forgiveness.
You surrender guilt.
You gain grace.
You surrender fear, and you gain peace.
It is a radical exchange. That is why the men acted with joy, not begrudgingly. If they had to do it again, they'd do it 100 times over.
They wouldn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
So, to wrap up the core message of this, 2 hosts, 1 message. Pastor J. Anthony's altar call is an open invitation.
Stop standing on the sidelines.
Yes. The kingdom of heaven isn't something to admire from a distance. It must be personally received. Surrender is not a loss. It is greatness.
So for you, the listener, whether you feel like the person who just stumbled onto this message today without even looking,
Or maybe you're the merchant. You've been desperately searching for meaning and peace your whole life.
the invitation is open. Choose the treasure over the temporary.
It's all right there waiting for you.
And this raises an important question. If the parables show us that gaining the ultimate treasure requires us to joyfully clear out our old inventory,
Yeah.
what is one lesser thing in your own life that you are secretly negotiating to keep? What is preventing you from going all in on the greater pearl?
Wow. That is definitely something to chew on. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this Two Hosts, One Message. We hope this challenged you to rethink what true surrender really looks like. Until next time.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us for Two Hosts, One Message. Today we reflected on Pastor J. Anthony Dargan's message, Surrendering for Greatness, from Matthew chapter 13, verses 44 to 46. Jesus reminds us that the kingdom of heaven is the greatest treasure we could ever discover. When we truly recognize its value, surrender is no longer loss. It becomes the pathway to the life God intends for us. If this message encouraged you, please share it with someone who may be searching for that same treasure. Stay connected with the ministry of the Congregational Church of God by following us on Facebook at Congregational Church of God NYC and on YouTube at CCOGNYC. This is Brother Gabriel Veritas, and until next time, remember, when you discover the treasure of the kingdom, going all in for Christ is always worth it.